this little problem that, the Billboard chart is based on record plays, among other things, and record plays are something that, through a whole series of ways, DJs are given money in order to increase the plays, right? Mm-hmm. So if they wanted something to go to the top of the chart, they could funnel money and away it would go. So BBC said, what if you just took everything posted on MySpace, YouTube, Last.fm, Bebo, and used that as a vote to figure out what's popular and what's not? I mean, it's only 50 or 60 million posts a day. It's definitely doable. And so they gave us a chunk of change, and we went and did a prototype on it. And in fact, one of the first projects Mina worked on was we generated an alternative list based on what was said on MySpace, and we asked people which one they preferred, which one they felt best agreed with their preferences. And interestingly, people preferred the list that was generated off the web 2-to-1-ish over the Billboard list. And yet, anecdotally, everyone thought their friends must have liked the Billboard list more, and that their taste was weird, right? I am just amazed at the advertising job that they've managed to do. They've convinced everyone to believe Billboard, even if it doesn't really apply to them. So we created this, this tool and had a list of what was popular, artists and music. It went up and down every 6 hours. We had to get a new release out. Just a word of advice, when doing projects that release every 6 hours, give some thought to the time difference between San Jose, California and London, England, unless you like being up at 1 in the morning. Because they would come in for work and it wouldn't be working and we'd get a phone call. One thing they did that was very interesting was they said, we're going to deploy a business intelligence analysis suite for teenagers, right? And what they said was, tell us what genres of music you care about, what age range, what genders, what location, and what sources, and generate me a custom list based on this. So the Register, out of the UK, the paper had this great headline, if you've ever wondered what 40-something-year-old female US electronica fans are listening to this week, this is the tool for you. But what was interesting was it actually got used a lot. All of us had thought that the BBC was nuts giving business intelligence tools. We can't get people inside IBM to use business intelligence tools. And yet teenagers had no problem with this at all and actually liked it a lot. So you create a chart that would give you a little thing that you could then drop in a web page or a blog or something and show what music was popular for you.
Although the age might be self-declared here, right?
Pardon?
This age was self-declared?
Yes. Yeah. We'll get to that. Okay, so those were some projects that we've done that are actually the pay the bills projects. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the more exploratory research that we've done using secondary use of this unstructured information. So the first one is one that we're doing right now. This is a chart of a hypothetical patient and the time period and what heart diseases they have. Now the reason this is interesting is I hadn't known how, if I fell over right now and Amit dialed 911 and they dragged me off to the hospital, how would they get a list of what had happened to me today? Best case.
Ask people.
Ask people, yeah. In fact, the state of the art is they have a physician's assistant who goes and scours your record doing what they call a record biopsy and creates a, no joke, PowerPoint presentation on DAM, which is presented to the surgeon who watches it and then goes into the operating theater. Okay, so 2 physician's assistants take 3 to 4 hours to create this PowerPoint and away you go. That's the best we can do today, which is great. And by the way, the hospitals that do that are miles ahead of anyone else who just goes in and sees what they got. What we did was pull data from 100 different systems, literally 100 different systems scattered throughout a health clinic. Data can come from EKG machines, it can come from echocardiogram machines, it can come from surgical reports, it can come from the pharmacy, and put together just a very simple plot that showed this disease was diagnosed here, it was diagnosed here, it was flagged as a continuing disease here, whatever. Even if you had all the data there, it's scattered around hundreds of pages, and you hear a cardiologist can look at it in a few seconds, create a mental image of what's going on with the patient. So again, just bringing the information together. Now there's a huge amount of analytics that goes on under this to say this is this kind of a disease or that kind of a disease. They do not care. They just want a dot on a chart. If we looked at things like drugs and diseases, let's pick a drug, lisinopril, a statin. So one of the guys who invented lisinopril actually works at Almaden. So we got him in as a consultant on this. And we said, what are the diseases most frequently associated with statins? And, you know, coronary artery syndrome, atrial fib, et cetera, et cetera. But then we got down to drug-induced lupus. And the guy said, no, come on, it's a statin. What does it have to do with the lupus? This is a false result. So we were able to drill down and show him that a month earlier, they had found that in people who were potentially had lupus, statins could trigger it. And he had no idea, the guy who invented the drug. So what's interesting about this is just showing someone the context of an information space around something they care about. If they look at it, they'll go, yeah, I know all that. If you show them something and they stop at one, then they really need to drill down and understand that. So this is an interesting example of a search engine that doesn't answer questions, it tells you what questions you should be asking. And that's been a theme we found with analysts all along. They're really good at finding answers. It's a lot harder to find the questions. So then we did a network of relationships. So we had all kinds of entities that we extracted all kinds of different ways. Here I've got the OPEC ministers on the inside, and on the outside I have the 25 Fortune 500 companies they're most commonly co-mentioned with. So if you look at the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources for Indonesia, you get IBM, Citigroup, Sempra Energy, Wisconsin Energy. The Minister of Energy for Kuwait only co-mentioned with one company, Halliburton. So you can look at that and you can say, why is that an anomaly? What's interesting about that? Why is it different? And what's neat is humans are very good at spotting patterns and spotting exceptions at patterns. Computers aren't so great at it. If you can display something in this format, the analyst can say, I understand that anomaly, I don't understand that one, drill down. And of course, you can put any entities inside and outside on a plot like this. You can put research labs and sponsors, you can put technologies and research labs, you can put technologies and sponsors, and understand how things are related in a way that's very difficult to do just by reading papers. A quick factoid. What percentage of the web is porn?
30 maybe?
Pardon?
30? 70.
Very good. Most people don't know that. I won't ask how.
That's a guess.
Roughly a third of the web is porn. Of the remaining 2/3, how much is an exact duplicate of something else? About half. Yeah, it's a little disturbing. If you get rid of the porn and the dupes, you get rid of 2/3 of the web. And there you go. But in order to do that, you have to compare every web page to every other web page. And this is time consuming. So one of the things we've been doing is looking at using high-performance supercomputers with high connectivity like a Blue Gene and saying, okay, go on and compare the shingles from every page to every other page over billions and billions of pages. It's an n-squared problem. How long could it take? Well, on a large SMP cluster, 18 to 24 hours. On a Blue Gene, 1/8 of a rack of a Blue Gene, 5 minutes. Now what's interesting is the deviant problem is essentially identical to the page ranking problem. So if you want a custom ranking of pages, you can generate it every 5 minutes. So now there's all of these opportunities to define your own rankings on hubs and authorities and propagate those through. And you're really not constrained at all. I mean, 5 minutes is throw it in, turn the crank, get the results, see if it's good, tweak things around, and repeat. Yes?
Why would you compare the web pages? Why not use the deep web kind of approach and go to the actual data servers or databases which are being sourced to create those web pages? Wouldn't that be a better solution?
So there's a question. Not many duplicates are a result of people just doing like a wget. There's a lot of repeating manuals, repeating bulk content that actually is useful to have up, but do I really need a copy of the Apache user guide all over the place? So that's the majority of it. It's not, they don't all go to the same deep web source. They just happen to be replicated.
So even if the web pages or the instruction manuals are being created on the fly in response to a question, or they are dynamic content.
Yes, so this is not looking at dynamic content. We identify dynamic content.